Hi, I'm Kayleen Reusser, the author of They Did It for Honor, Stories of World War II Veterans. The clip you are about to watch is part of a speech that I gave recently about my trip to Europe to tour World War II battlefields. I was on Omaha Beach on June 6th, and I describe that experience and include comments from veterans, nearly 200 veterans that I have interviewed over the past several years. If you'd like to know more about my speaking, please contact me via my website, KayleenReusser.com/speaking. That's KayleenReusser.com/speaking at the bottom of the screen. I hope you enjoy the clip. We arrived in France the early part of June, so we were actually on Omaha Beach on June 6th. This was like almost a dream come true. I have interviewed 170 World War II veterans. We live in Bluffton. I have access to Fort Wayne, so there's quite a few there, but I have actually done some down in Indianapolis. I've even done one by Skype with a Pearl Harbor survivor who lives in Honolulu. And that worked really well, by the way. So, but I go to their homes or where they live and spend maybe 1 or 2 hours with them, and it's a joy. Every one of them is very valuable. And some of them say, oh, I was never in battle, I was never in combat, I was a cook. Some of them say, oh, I didn't even go overseas. And I say, well, now, so in other words, I wouldn't want to interview them. And I say, now, did you show up? Did you do what you were told? Yeah, then you're good. You've got a good story. No matter what you did, it's part of our heritage, and we need to record those. So that's my little plea. I've also worked in a middle school library, and I try to write the stories. This is my first book that I put together. I wrote these stories so that a non-military person could understand them, and so that even kids, I would say even 6th grade, could understand these stories. I want them to understand what our heritage is, and if we don't make an effort to teach it to them, they're not going to get it. They're just going to pass right on by. So I've done my best to try to put some things together. And so if you know of any young person who has any interest in history, this would be a good resource for them, I think. It does say World War II Legacy Stories of Northeast Indiana Veterans. But it doesn't pertain to just Northeast Indiana. These are stories that are universal. So, all right. Okay, well this is me standing on Omaha Beach. Now we had tried to get there in the morning, and the road was cut off because they were having some French dignitaries come for a ceremony, which is wonderful. I'm glad that they're still observing this. You know, this has been now 73 years, and it's pretty remarkable that they're still giving attention to that. But we had to then reverse our schedule, and our guide was really good for that, so he just adapted to whatever would happen. We went to Utah in the morning and then came back to Omaha. But the wonderful thing is that this is at 6:30 at night, so this would have been 12 hours after the boys landed. And I'm going to call them boys. I know I could say troops, but doggone it, they were only like 17 to 21 years old. Now that's a boy to me. So, but they were doing wonderful things. So this is about where they would have touched base on the sand. Ignore the houses, they wouldn't have been there. There is a seawall, and our guide said that the seawall wouldn't have even been there. So all that they would have seen was that bluff and the Germans firing down on them. And there was a lot of them going in, and it was, I hate to think of it, but it was like sitting ducks. I mean, they were very numerous coming in. We were, being very aggressive with the invasion, but it was a pretty easy task for the Germans to hit them. So the boys would have, at some point, been seeing this whole sand here covered with dead bodies, and that's if they made it to shore. I have interviewed someone in my book who was a medic who was coming in on a ship. He hadn't even gotten into the landing craft yet, and his ship was bombed, shelled, and he was told to jump in to dump his pack, because those packs could weigh up to 60 pounds, and they could pull them under. A lot of the boys drowned before they even got to shore. They weren't even hit, they were just drowned because the waves were just going crazy. Plus it was cold weather too. So he made it to shore miraculously. I don't know how anybody survived really, but he crawled around on the beach until he found some place that was safe, and then he knew he couldn't even lift his head. He said with his head down, he looked for supplies that maybe were on some dead soldiers laying there, and he would get those and try to treat the wounded. And he said that the barrage continued for about 3 days and 3 nights. He said it really didn't stop. So that would have been, I think this is about a quarter mile. Would you say, John? Was it about a quarter mile up front there?
And that's at water's edge.
Yeah. So this is about where they would have landed. So they had a long way to traverse before they could get to any kind of safety at all.